All right, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to another world famous live YouTube live stream session from South Florida Academy of AC. Thank you all for joining us this morning. It is always a pleasure to have you guys here. Just getting all my stuff situated and getting ready to go. Let me close the window here. I'm getting some weird shadows on my face. Give me 1 second. All right, I think that's going to be a little better. There we go. Lighting looks right. Great. I'm super excited to have you guys here today. Good morning, Mr. Edwin. All right, we'll give everybody a minute to arrive. Thank you for coming. Usually we do these in person on campus. We're actually going to have one of these in person on campus Thursday evening coming up, and then we're going to have one in Tampa a week from today. We're going to have one in Tampa Saturday morning at 9 a.m. I try to throw out some ones online too, some on YouTube, just in case people can't make it or don't want to get out of their pajamas. So let's get everything started here, and then we'll get going. All right, move this over here. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, it is 9 a.m. I'm going to kick this off and get started. Welcome to South Florida Academy of AC. I'm happy to have you here. We are a technical school. We teach air conditioning, installation, repair, maintenance. We are the largest air conditioning technical school in the state of Florida by number of graduates. Really proud to say that. We have been doing it in Fort Lauderdale for now 16 years. We opened up our Tampa location last year, and it's been absolutely fantastic. We actually wrapped up a class yesterday. I was there for graduation. Smiles on everybody's faces. I said, how many people are already interviewing? The class hadn't even ended yet. Half the hands went up in the room. There's so much job demand. What time on Thursday by any chance? The time on Thursday, I believe, is 6 p.m. in Fort Lauderdale. All right, so if you want to come by and see us live on Thursday, that's going to be 6 p.m. in Fort Lauderdale. Tampa's doing great. We have Orlando in the works. We got approval to be able to open up our location in Orlando, and that's probably a few months away still. But that's why these live things, these YouTube things are great, because I can talk to the Tampa audience, the Orlando audience, and the Fort Lauderdale audience. All right, so we're going to make it quick this morning. I'm going to give a real brief overview of a few things. I'm going to talk about what types of jobs are available, how much money you can make in AC, different career paths. I'm going to talk about what we teach at the school and what you learn. I'm going to talk about what you actually get, like when you come through our program. What do you leave with? Is it a diploma? Is it a certification, a license? What do you actually get when you come through the program? I'll talk about that. And then I'm going to talk about upcoming classes, how to register, some funding that might be available to pay for it all. We have a really great program. If you're in Broward County, we have a really, really great partner that is dying to give people money to come to this program. So I'll talk about that, and then we'll wrap things up and we'll get on with our weekend. Okay. So let's kick things off with how much money you can make in AC, because I think that's the number one question. That's really why people come to our school. AC is great, AC is fun, but people are here for careers. People are here to make money, financial independence, financial success. That's how we think, that's what we're about. So let's start with that. The great thing about the field of AC and HVAC technicians is there's really two routes you can take. One is that you can go work for a company doing a number of things, whether it's as a technician, an installer, in a sales role, manufacturing. There's so many different ways. Planning and engineering of HVAC systems. And then right now with data centers, there's a ton of demand for HVAC technicians as these data centers across the country go up. So working for a company in AC is great. Job stability, good pay. We'll talk about how much they pay in a second. Paid time off, sick pay, PTO, all that stuff. And you have a skilled trade. You're not just bagging groceries at the grocery store, or helping your friend out with his moving company, or valet parking cars, or trying to make money on TikTok, all these get rich quick schemes. You have a real skill. You have an in-demand skilled trade that people need, and you have that for the rest of your life. And as we know, air conditioning is not going anywhere. So that's a skill that you now have. You can build on that. Every day you go to work, you get better and better and stronger and stronger. And then a few years go by, you look back and you go, wow, before I know it, I'm actually pretty damn good at this. And so now you're, experienced and super in demand. So that's one path. One path is to go work for all these companies that need HVAC techs. You can make a lot of money doing that. The other path that you can go down is you can start your own company. All right, that's possible. Now, you can't do it right after graduating. You have to get some experience or something called a contractor's license. But there's a very, very clear path to starting your own HVAC company. Okay, and you can make a ton of money having your own HVAC company. And that's what's so cool about this, is there's different ways to go. So I would say typically, once you're established as an HVAC technician in Florida, the pay typically stabilizes out at about $35 an hour. And then a lot of companies will have bonus structures too. So if you're at a customer's house while you're fixing their AC, say, hey ma'am, I noticed it's a little, it's a little dusty in here maybe. Do you have any allergies? Have you noticed yourself sneezing or coughing? Because I can install an air purifier or a high-powered UV light in your AC system. It'll clear all that up. So things like that are extra little upsells. A lot of companies have bonus programs, incentives. You might be able to make 50 or $100 on a commission for selling that UV light. So you not only would be making, the $35 an hour, but then, you could get an extra $100 if you sell that UV light. So it can really stack up. And I think that once you get established as an HVAC tech, and, probably, when you're starting out, it's going to be a little bit lower. But once it's established, there's guys making between $75,000 to $120,000 a year. That's probably a pretty fair assessment of what an established HVAC technician is going to make. And so you can live a life on that. You can build a life around that. You can support your family in South Florida. Florida is not a cheap state to live. And then there's that job security with a ton of jobs available. If your company goes under, there's 1,000 other HVAC companies that are, going to poach you right away because we are in such desperate need of HVAC techs. In fact, I want to show you one thing. I was reading this article. Let me see if I can figure out how to pull this up on the screen. So if I can figure that, all right, display, let me see if I can do this here. I want to show you an article that I was reading by, it's called Andreessen Horowitz. They're a big investment company. They're actually a big venture capital firm, but they put out a ton of just market research. Let me see, I guess my head's in the way here. But so this is a research report. All right, how do the TikTokers do this so they make their head small? Let's do that. All right, so this is a report that they put out. Read this sentence. As explained in one job, our explosion of demand for data centers means there's an infinite work for HVAC technicians. An infinite work for, that sentence right there says it all. With what's going on in the economy right now, infinite for this field, for this trade. So, and this is what the data centers is like the cherry on the sundae. It's like on top of all the things we typically think about, which is residential repairs, residential service, commercial service, new construction. Data centers is a whole new field with infinite work. So in terms of the demand for this job and the availability of jobs, there's so much. All right, there's so much. So I think that sentence says a lot. All right, so thanks for bearing with me while I figured out my screens there on that. All right, so going back to class here. This is our Tampa classroom you see behind me. All right, so that's one path. And then the other path is going into business for yourself. Okay, to go into business for yourself, first you have to get a few years of experience. It depends on your background. If you have, it depends on how many years of college or military you have. And then depending on how many years of college or military you have, the state of Florida will determine how many years of experience in HVAC you need before you can get your HVAC contractor's license. Worst case scenario, if you have no military, no college background, they make you get 4 years of experience. Okay. Best case scenario, if you have multiple years of, excuse me. Guess I need that UV light. Okay, so worst case scenario, you would need 4 years of experience to get your contractor's license. Best case scenario, the state would only make you have as little as 1 year of experience. It depends on your history and, like I said, college and military. But once you get your HVAC license, so that means a licensed contractor with your company, your name on the truck, the amount of money you can make is truly insane. Like I mentioned before, that if you're working for someone else, it's probably going to stabilize at like $75,000 to $125,000 a year. If you're in business for yourself as an HVAC contractor, like one man in a truck, the amount of money you can make, it's hard to even wrap your, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and you can build a company with people working underneath you, and you can build multi-million-dollar companies. And I have one. It's not multi-million-dollar yet. We're getting there, but a lot of people do this. That's why so many people want to get into the HVAC field and start their own companies. Let me explain something to you. Let me show you one sample repair, and this will give you a sense for really how much money's in this business. So when we go out and we get a phone call, hey, my air conditioning system's not working. Can you send somebody out to fix it? Most often, all right, more than 50% of the time, the problem is a capacitor. So let me show you what a capacitor is. So this is a capacitor. All right, right there. Oh, that's not gonna help. That's not gonna help you. How about, like, there we go. That's a capacitor right there, okay? A capacitor is like it's kind of like a little battery that sits in the system, and it holds a charge, and it holds a strong enough charge that when the AC system gets the message from the thermostat, okay, time to turn on, it delivers the full power of that battery in one big, like, boom. It gives all the power in that in one big boost, and it's enough of a boost to get that motor to start going and to turn on, because otherwise the power from the wall is not enough to get the motor to start. Okay, that's what a capacitor does. But like all other batteries, it doesn't last forever. Okay, it eventually goes bad. And every single AC system, every single one, in every single house, in every single business, in every building across Florida has a capacitor, and they are constantly going bad all over town all the time. And that's why so many of our service calls, for this side, are capacitors. To change a capacitor, and we know that that's the most likely culprit, so it's like the first thing we check. Do you see on top here? I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can't see my mouse. So there's 1, 2, 3 connections that are connected by 3 wires. You don't open this thing up. It's like a battery, so it's connected by 3 wires. All you do is you unplug 1, 2, 3 wires, take it, throw it out, grab a new one from your truck, put it in, 1, 2, 3 wires. That's it. All right, and a lot of times the wires are color coded. It makes it really easy. Do you want to guess how much people charge to change capacitors? Should I do a poll, a live stream poll to see? The going rate, the fair going rate right now to change a capacitor is $400. And I know for a fact that there's companies out there, because we had a student, and I'm not going to say what company it was with, but they're in the Broward County area. They charge $600 to change a capacitor, okay? So call it $400, maybe $500, even as high as $600 to change this capacitor. And it's 1, 2, 3 wires, okay? Throw out the old one, grab a new one. $400 to $600. That's like 5 minutes of work, all right? And now here's the kicker. Do you want to know how much these capacitors cost at the supply house when you have to go buy the parts? Let me show you that. I'm just going to pull up Google Shopping. Look at this. Look what they cost. $6 for a capacitor. $4.37. I mean, there's all different ones. This $100, I don't know what that, you would never do that, but $6. Okay? This is a $6 part here, the one I showed you before. If I do this and I close it. You can't see it. There you go. $5.99. This capacitor is $5.99. And there's people running around town, all the AC companies, selling them for $400 to $600 for 5 minutes of work. And these capacitors are dying all the time on systems all over town, and everybody's got an AC system. This is why people want to start an HVAC company. Because if you were working for an HVAC company and a capacitor goes bad and you go to somebody's house and you change it, you get your hourly wage, right? So you might be making 25, 30, 35 bucks an hour. So let's just say with drive time and talking to the customer, let's say it takes a whole hour, which it won't. The actual repair takes 5 minutes, maybe less. But let's just say it takes an hour. So you make 25, 30, 35 bucks on that call if you're working for somebody else. But if you have your own AC business, you make the profit. You make the whole amount. So if you charge $400 to change this capacitor and you bought it at the supply house for $5, you made $395 an hour, basically. And there's so much work out there. It's not like this happens once in a blue moon. These are more than half of our calls. So if you run some basic math, I don't usually on the whiteboard behind me, I would, do the math, but let's say that you have 3 calls a day. 3 calls a day is nothing. You can bang that out before noon. You're fishing by 12 o'clock. Work in the morning, 3 calls a day, grab lunch, you're fishing the rest of the day. $500 a call, that's $1,500 a day. That's like $7,500 a week if you're only working 5 days a week. If you want to work 7 days a week, you're getting close to $10,000 a week now. That's anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 a month. One guy, one truck, changing capacitors. It's wild. And then if you've got guys working for you, you got 2 or 3 or 4 guys underneath you, they're running around town changing the capacitors. You're just setting up the business. You're putting in place the website and the phone answering system and the dispatching, and you're taking calls and you're scheduling them and stuff. Now you've got a business here, and each one of your guys is making a few $100,000 a year in profit. You add that all up, and now you've got a business that could be making, $1 million in profit a year or whatever that is. And you can sit on that and take that home, or you can flip it. You can sell that company. There's a huge market right now from what's called private equity. They're buying up HVAC companies like crazy. So once you go acquire your list of customers and, around town and your friends and family, and you're posting signs and you're doing all your specials and the business cards, and you get, your few hundred customers, private equity companies are so hungry to basically buy your business and buy those customers that if you're making $1 million a year in profit, you could probably sell that to them for $5 or $6 million. So that's what is crazy about this business, is that if you want the stable job, you want to be able to work for somebody with your skilled trade, be told where to go, what to do, have that stability, the PTO, the paid sick days, all that. You've got that for the rest of your life. That's a skill you now have. If you want to go start your own company and you want that Lamborghini style money, that's very possible too. There's a very well-defined path with the amount of experience you need and how to get your contractor's license. We help a lot of students giving advice, when they get to that stage. So that's what's so cool about this business. All right, so let me take a quick pause there, kind of regroup. All right, awesome. So that's the money that can be made in this class, with this trade. All right, let me pop my screen back on. All right, great. So let's see. So what do I want to talk about next? Usually what I would do is I would do a sample AC lesson. You can see this this thing with that right there behind me. That's my demo unit. So in class I would normally give a little. In our live info sessions, I would give a little demonstration of how AC works. I'm not going to do it today because I can't really get my hands on it, but I'll say this. The way that we teach is super, super hands-on. And I think that's the biggest difference between our class and the other classes, is that we are very intense. It's fast-paced. It's mostly hands-on. You are not sitting in class reading textbooks all day long and filling out quizzes. That's not how we do it. We usually start each day with about an hour, maybe an hour and a half of lecture where we describe a concept, and then we get everybody to the machines. Let me see if I have any other pictures here I can show you. So this is the Tampa campus. Here's a sample picture from Fort Lauderdale, but you can just see around the whole room, around the whole perimeter of the room, it's all machines the whole way around. So for most of the class day, you're on your machine learning. And then we have multiple instructors circulating through the room, and they're working with you one-on-one, sometimes 3 or 4 on 1, and mentoring you and helping you. And you're actually learning as you're on the machines. We find that's the best way to learn. So that's how we teach. And then in terms of how complex the material is, we ask that everybody have a high school diploma, at least. If you don't have a high school diploma, there's an admissions test we can give you. It's usually not a problem. You just need to be able to read and do basic math. But in terms of how complex the material gets, we talk a little bit about pressures. So you need to understand concept of pressure and high pressure, low pressure, stuff like that. You need to understand changes of state. So how water could be like a liquid, or it could evaporate into a gas, or it could freeze into an ice cube. All right, so it's not just water. We use these chemicals. Sometimes you might have heard it called freon or refrigerant. Same thing. So that freon, that refrigerant could be a gas, it could be a liquid. So we talk about change of state. Those are pretty much the most advanced, science related concepts that we're going to get into. So as long as that you didn't get completely lost in the past 30 seconds, you should be fine in the class. Okay. Let me move on to what you actually get. So when you come through our program, there's a few things that you actually walk away with. So number one is the knowledge. Okay, so you're going to get the knowledge, the actual hands-on training, and that's when you think about paying for class. To me, that's the most valuable part. It's the actual day in, day out, from 9 to 5, hands-on training on this machine from experts. That's by far the most valuable thing you get. It's the hands-on training of repair, maintenance, and installation of these machines you see behind me. We call it residential and light commercial because these are the machines you're going to find in 99% of homes down here and a lot of businesses too. So not only are people's houses, not only are they your customers, but businesses. Now, when I say light commercial, I mean like not a 45-story condo building. That's a different story. But every Jimmy John's, every smoke shop, every strip mall, all that stuff, they all have systems like this too. So what do you get when you come to the class? Number one is the knowledge. Number two is you get your trade school diploma. So we're a licensed trade school under the Florida Department of Education. When you finish, you get your diploma, and that shows employers that you actually went to school, that you were trained, that you know what you're doing. So really that diploma is a way to help you get that first job by being able to say, hey, yes, I did go to school, I did go to trade school, I was trained. So you get the knowledge, you get the trade school diploma. The next thing you get is something called your EPA certification. The EPA is a federal requirement. In order to work in this industry, to even touch refrigerant, you have to have something called your EPA. So you will get that as part of the class too. A lot of people have questions. What type of EPA? Is it type 1, type 2, type 3, universal? If that means anything to you, the answer is universal. All right, you get your universal EPA 608. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. But you will get your EPA as part of this. If anybody doesn't pass the test, don't worry. We'll just give you the test again and again until you pass. Every time you don't pass, we'll go over what you went wrong. We'll work on those specific questions until you're able to pass. And I would say that we just finished up our class in Tampa yesterday. The instructor told me that everybody but one passed the EPA. So there's only one person who has to do a makeup, and I'm sure he'll pass on the second time. It's very rare somebody takes it more than 2 times. Okay, so once again, you've got the knowledge, you've got the trade school diploma, you've got the EPA certification. Tools. We give you an initial set of tools when you leave. So you'll work with our tools the entire time you're in class, but when you leave class, we'll give you a whole bag full of your manifold gauge and multimeter and capacitance meter and hand tools and all this stuff that you'll need for day one of your job. So you get tools. The next thing is job placement assistance. We do a ton of work helping people get jobs. One thing we do is we create a resume by hand for each and every person. Another thing that we'll do very often is we'll bring companies into class to interview on the spot. We're putting in letters of recommendation, phone calls of recommendation. We're sending you jobs. We're scouring. Not that there's a shortage, but we're looking on Craigslist, Indeed, Monster.com. We're finding HVAC jobs. We send those out to all of our graduates every few days, like apply to these, keeping track of where everybody's getting jobs. So there's a ton of hand-holding with the job placement. So we call that job placement assistance. So let's see. So we said the knowledge, the diploma, the EPA, the tools, the job placement assistance. Oh, AC helpline. So when you graduate, we give you what we call the AC helpline. And that is a phone number for us, for the school, special line that you can call anytime. If you're on a job and you get tripped up or don't know what to do or whatever it might be, we don't want you to call your boss and look stupid. Call us. Call our helpline. We will walk you through the repair. We'll say, hey, text us some photos, tell us what are your pressures, what are your temperatures, and we'll walk you through the repair right there on the spot. Okay, so that's cool too. To be honest, not a lot of people use that because I think we're pretty good at teaching and we do a pretty good job of making you self-sufficient, but it's kind of like an insurance policy just in case you get some weird scenario or you're having a bad day and you need a little bit of help, we're there. Okay, so that's another thing you get. The next thing you get is something called access to AC All-Stars. I'm not going to go into this too much because it's a huge can of worms, but basically AC All-Stars is an AC company run by a friend of the school. His name is Steve, and he makes a deal with students. And here's the deal. The deal is if you go to South Florida Academy of AC, so he knows that you were trained properly, and you get 1 year of experience working for someone else out in the field, he will hire you at AC All-Stars, and he will put you on a 90% commission program. The catch is that you have to find your own customers, okay? But if you go and work for him at AC All-Stars, you're his employee, you're on his workers' comp insurance, you're a W-2 employee, you're under his HVAC license, so you don't need your own contractor's license. But if you go install a capacitor and you charge the customer $500, you're on a 90% commission program. So you would make 90% of that. In that case, that's $450. Okay. So if you were working for another HVAC company, they might only pay you $25 or $30 an hour. But working with Steve at AC All-Stars, you install a capacitor, you're not making $30 an hour. You might make $450 because you got a 90% commission on that capacitor. So it's a really great program that he does. It's the only one of its kind. I've never heard of anything like this. The reason why students love it is because if they haven't passed their contractor's exam yet, so they don't have the ability to go into business for themselves yet, but they feel like they've got enough experience that they feel comfortable kind of being out on their own, finding their own customers, doing their own jobs, this is a great way to be able to make more than $35 an hour legally working with Steve under his license. So that is a really, really cool benefit to the school. We've had people come through the school before who already know HVAC. They've been in the business for years, but maybe they can't get their contractor's license because they can't pass the contractor's exam, and they want to get on AC All-Stars. So they come to this school and they're like, hey, we don't even need to pay attention. There's nothing you can teach me. I know everything there is to know about AC. I'm just in the school because I need to check the box to do that so that I can get on AC All-Stars. So I know that that's kind of, you probably have a million questions about that. I'm not going to get too much into it right now, but that's another really, really, really big benefit of the school is access to that AC All-Stars program. And when the time comes for you, if that's something you want to think about, I'll give you Steve's number directly. It's his company, and you can ask him all the questions you have, and he's, I'm sure, happy to talk to you. Okay, so when you come through the school, the knowledge of residential like commercial AC systems, install, maintain, service systems, the trade school diploma, the EPA certification, the tools, the AC helpline, the job placement assistance, access to AC All-Stars, and then additionally all the people that you meet in class, which you'd be surprised is really valuable. We get people in class who come from all different types of backgrounds, whether they're electricians or plumbers or they're house flippers or they're mortgage agents, or like all these different people. And then when you finish class, you're on a group text message with these 20 people or 25 people. And it's great. You suddenly have a community of people who are friends and want to help you. So if you go get a job and maybe you don't like it, maybe your boss is a jerk and you want to leave, you can text the group and say, hey, I'm working over at this company. They're not very good. I'm not very happy. Are any of you guys hiring? And then your friends in the chat jump in and say like, oh yeah, I'm over at Lindstrom or this company or that company or Pride Air, and we're hiring like crazy. Like, come over here, I'll put in a good word for you. So there's a lot of value in that too. Not to mention the relationships you make with the instructors, but also with the other students is really huge. And then guys go into business together all the time, people they met in class. So that's really cool. So there's a ton of different value here, things that you're getting. It's a lot more than just like NAC class. There's a lot here, and I think if you look up our reviews online, in fact, why don't I brag a little bit? I have to show you this. I mean, South Florida Academy of AC. So if I pull this up, I mean, look at this. We're so proud of this because we work hard every day to make this happen. Look at this, South Florida Academy of AC. I don't know if you can see this. Let me zoom in. 5.0 stars, 1,065 reviews. That is so cool. So that's Fort Lauderdale. Tampa's new, okay? Tampa was only set up last year, but look at this, 5.0 stars, 96 reviews. And if I click into that, the people who graduated yesterday, let's see, let's go newest. So 15 hours ago, this is, they graduated yesterday. Oops, my head's in the way. How do I get my head out of here? recommend this school, blah, blah, blah. But like all of these, I mean, he was a graduate from yesterday. He was a graduate from yesterday. For 21 hours ago, this is from yesterday. So I really recommend you read through these. I love this program. At first I was worried about learning all of the blah, 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 but we're super proud of that. Okay. So now that I'm here, let me show you the dates of the next class. If I go to our website, if you go to the website and then, oh, who's this handsome guy down there? I know him. All right, you go to this website, you click on courses, all right, and then you can see, it shows the Fort Lauderdale classes. I know my big fat head's in the way. All right, let me get my head out of the way so you can actually see what's going on here. Fort Lauderdale classes, all right, so you can see we just had one in March that wrapped up a little while ago. The next full-time class for Fort Lauderdale is going to start June 1st. That's faster than you realize. I mean, we're already like almost mid-April. So in 6 weeks, like a month and a half, it'll be June 1st. So it's really not as far out as it sounds. We've got that full-time class in Fort Lauderdale coming up. That's the full-time classes are Monday through Friday, all right, from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. If you want to stay till 5, you can. We leave that last hour open if you want to stay, get some extra practice, ask some extra questions, or if you want to go home and check out a little bit early, you're happy to, you can do that too. But it's officially 9 to 4, all right, Monday through Friday. Then we have a weekend version. All right, the weekend version is the same curriculum, same stuff. It's just Saturdays and Sundays only, which means we have to really compress it into a much shorter time. So the weekend version is much faster. Same stuff, all right? You learn the same stuff, still 4 weeks, 9 to 5, Saturdays and Sundays, but it's just a lot faster. The weekend class is really great for someone who is gonna pick this up quickly. Maybe they have a little bit of construction experience or kind of handyman experience. They're good with their hands. They speak English well. They're gonna pick it up fast. The weekend class is a great match. If you have a job, Monday through Friday, then your only option is the weekend class. And that's fine. Any of you can do the full-time or the weekend class. If you're not sure which one's right for you, I'm happy to talk to you personally and figure it out. I think people have success with both. Just be prepared that the weekend class is going to be it's just going to be faster. Those capacitors I talked about for the full-time class, you might change 10 capacitors. On the weekend class, you might only change 4. So it's just going to be faster. All right, that's the weekend. But the next weekend class coming up is going to be May 2nd. So less than 4 weeks away. All right. And then if you're joining us from Tampa, we just finished this full-time class yesterday on Friday, April 10th. All right, that class wrapped up yesterday. It was an awesome, awesome class. Everybody posted their reviews online. You can go read those. We have a ton of great pictures too. The next full-time class in Tampa is starting June 8th. All right, and the next weekend class in Tampa is starting just a little less than a month from now on May 9th. All right, Orlando. If you're joining us from Orlando, we're still building out that location. I believe that we're going to be able to hit this date. I'm not sure if we will, but the first class would be June 22nd. That would be our first ever class in Orlando. We may have to push that back if we don't have the full build out done by then. Online, we're rolling out an online version too. This is kind of cool. It's going to be 16 weeks. And the last 2 weeks, we actually fly you in to probably the Orlando location. But the online content's not quite ready. We might have to push this back one as well. Okay. If you have questions about Orlando or online, please call us. I'm Adam. I'm the owner and executive director of the school. You can ask for me directly. If you're joining from Orlando or online, talk to me and let's see what we're doing there. That's still in development. But Tampa and Fort Lauderdale are firing on all cylinders. Great programs, huge success. We can't wait to have you start. All right, one final thing I will say. If you are looking at the Fort Lauderdale location, only for Fort Lauderdale, there are a lot of options where you can get class paid for entirely, like the whole thing. The full-time program, the cost is $7,995. The weekend program is less, it's $5,995. But there is an organization in Broward County that I'm telling you, you can't make this stuff up. They are dying to give people money to come and do the class in the Fort Lauderdale location. All right, and if they give you money, they pay for every dollar. You don't have to pay one single dollar out of pocket. Really great organization. It's called Career Source. All right. If you follow up with us after this and you want more information on that, I can put you in touch with them, and we do this all the time. So I'll help you through that process. But they are awesome. And if you can get Career Source to pay for it, the entire thing would be free. Typically, they look for people who, are in challenged positions. So maybe you're unemployed, something that they might call like chronic unemployment, lack of like skills, like, you never went to a technical school before, maybe you didn't go to college, you don't have really any advanced job skills, and you're not able to get a really great job, or other situations like maybe, you're living with your parents because you can't afford a house, or living out of your car, like all these difficult situations. Those are the people who they mostly try to get money to. But I know they've got a really big budget right now, and the budget is closing, I think, at the end of July. So if they don't use the money by the end of July, I think they lose it. So they really want to use this money and help people. So we can hook you up with them. That's for Fort Lauderdale only. Unfortunately, in Tampa, I don't have a program like that, but there's different ways to pay. So if you want to pay in full, you can do that. If you want to do a pay over time, the school can make you a loan. So you would give the school some money up front, and then after class ends, you would pay month to month, like whatever it is, $150 or something like that. We can customize the amount that you pay. If this program sounds good to you, I want to find a way to be able to make it happen for you. One way or another. We want to find a way to get you in class. Let me see. There's a question here. I read that there's a 3-week course. No, there's no. The 3-week class. So the 3-week used to be the weekend. This is just a question from Edwin. Thank you, Edwin. The 3-week used to be the weekend. I can't believe they used to do the weekend in 3 weeks, because the weekend is only on Saturdays and Sundays, right? So 3 weeks means 3 weekends. That's 6 total days. So the whole weekend program was 6 days. It was 3 weekends. And so we actually extended that. We extended it to 4 weekends. So there's no longer a 3-week option. It's just 4 weeks. So whether you go full-time Monday through Friday for 4 weeks, or you do Saturdays and Sundays, it's Saturdays and Sundays for 4 weeks. Those are the only choices. And the price didn't change. The price stayed the same. You just got an extra weekend, for free out of it. And I think it's much better. And we actually added some additional things to the curriculum and smoothed out the agenda every day. So it's a nice program the way it's done now. All right. So really that is it. What I would recommend doing is reading the reviews. Go online, just Google South Florida Academy of AC. Apparently, ChatGPT is now recommending us as well. I didn't even know that they were doing that, but we've had a number of students come to us, say, "Oh, how'd you hear about the school?" Like, "Oh, well, I was on ChatGPT. I was looking for AC schools, and you guys came up first," which is awesome. Personally, I think we're the best AC school by a long shot, so I'm glad ChatGPT agrees. But to move forward, what I would recommend you do is, if you go to our website, and I think it's under this button, Learn More. Let's see if that does it. Yeah, so then you can fill out a form with your information. Okay, that's one option. The next option is you can call us. If you go all the way to the bottom of the website, is it here? Let's see, contact us. Do we not have a phone number on the website? Hold on, home, there's gotta be a phone number here somewhere. Home, oh, there you go. Have questions, call us now. So that is the phone number to call us. All right. The phone is usually picked up by our wonderful admissions person, Catalina. She speaks Spanish, Spanish and English, if that's helpful to you. We need to update our date here. That should be 2026 by now. So you can give us a call. You can sign up. She can help you sign up online and reserve a seat. If you're going to be interested in the Fort Lauderdale class, we do have that in-person open house Thursday night at 6 p.m. Highly recommend you come by. You can see the equipment, see our instructor. It's just a fantastic team there. I'll bring in some food, some sandwiches or something to munch on. And then if you're in Tampa, this Saturday, 1 week from right now, Saturday at 9 a.m., we're going to do an in-person info session there as well. Okay. I got one more question. I've heard of Career Source in the Tampa area, just not accepted. Yes. So there is a Career Source in the Tampa area. Unfortunately, we're not registered with them. We're trying to get registered with them. They also only cover a portion. Even if we did register with them, they wouldn't even cover the full amount. So there still would have been an out-of-pocket cost, most likely. But no, we're not currently registered with Career Source Tampa. Unfortunately, we're really trying to. I would love if you called them and said, hey, I really want to go to South Florida Academy of AC. Like, are you guys connected with them? Maybe that would help us get approved. But what we can do for Tampa basically is the same thing we do in Fort Lauderdale if somebody just doesn't get approved for Career Source in Fort Lauderdale, which is that we just do a pay over time. We just do a pay over time. And we come up, we determine with you how much, we want you to put down up front. And then the rest of it, we're just going to have you, pay. And the hope is that you finish class, you get your job, and then you can make your, $150 a month payments on it. And compared to like student loans, when people talk about student loans and at college and people graduating with $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 of student loan debt, that's not this at all. This is graduating with like $4,000 or $5,000 of student loan debt, and not to mention like a lot of the problems with federal student loans is that people go to a 4-year school and they get a degree in philosophy or history, and then they're waiting tables after as like a waiter. They can't even get a great job. And if you were, some of you I think joined late, but in the beginning of this call, we talked about how much money you can make in AC, and we talked about that one article that literally said infinite demand for HVAC jobs. And so whether you're working for someone else and, altogether it's coming out to $75,000 to $120,000 a year, or if you end up going into business for yourself and you're making $500 every time you change a capacitor, making $200,000 a year working basically half days, fishing by noon, graduating with like $5,000 of student loan debt in the grand scheme of things is just really not that, in my opinion, not that much for that kind of career opportunity. And looking at the other technical schools too, the technical schools I think are priced right around us. Some are a little higher, some are a little lower, but based on what we provide, which is bringing in like multiple instructors to class, so many machines, so much equipment, so much time on the equipment, the track record we have, the AC helpline, access to AC All-Stars, that program I talked about earlier where you can get on that 90% commission with Steve. Anyway, I think it's a pretty good value for what it is. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up here. This is fantastic. I'll be back in the office on Monday. If anybody wants to call, please call me. I'm happy to talk to you. So your specific situation, what your background is, what you're thinking about, what you want to do in your career, what you want to do in life. I would really love to know where you're coming from, we just had one person join. Whoever that is, dude, that just joined, we're about to wrap up. I'm sorry about this. If you click this link, I'm going to keep this link live probably for another day so you can rewatch this video. After 24 hours, I kind of reset it, and then it'll just be for the next. It'll be like a waiting room for the next online info session. But if you want to go back and watch what you missed, I'll keep it live for like an hour. Okay. Anyway, guys, awesome. I'm here for you. Call us anytime. I want all of you to be successful. I want all of you to make a ton of money. I hope to see all of you in class. It's an awesome school. Come visit us at the open house in Fort Lauderdale Thursday at 6 p.m. or come visit us in Tampa at the open house Saturday at 9 a.m. Great team, great instructors. Read our reviews online. Come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, guys, have a great weekend.